We have all seen people smoking cigarettes and potentially vaping more commonly, but do we know what it really entails? Vaping has been on the rise for the past few years, and it has especially grown in popularity amongst teens and young adults. According to the National Institute of Health, in 2017, about 28% of 12th graders vape, and this increased to 37% in 2018. It is something that is seen as cool to participate in, and many individuals do not see the risk associated with it. Social media has helped its popularization as pages are flooded with individual images of people having fun and vaping with their friends. The utilization of vapes is very easy, as they can be used indoors and can be easily hidden. Teens and young adults in school often go to washrooms to vape in between classes. This is a growing issue as many do not fully understand the full effects that vaping can have on one's health. For many young people today, it can be common to have friends that see vaping as an acceptable practice and often justify it by explaining that at least they're not smoking. This is a dilemma Daniel faces as his friend Andrew is unable to see the harm of his vaping habits. Daniel takes some time to do some extensive research and creates a presentation for his friend to help explain the differences between vaping and smoking, as well as the associated health risks in order to determine if vaping is really better than smoking. Daniel started off by explaining what makes vaping and cigarettes so addictive. Nicotine is an addictive substance that is in both cigarettes and e-cigarettes or vapes. It is a stimulant drug that speeds up the messages that are relayed between the brain and the body. When nicotine enters the body, especially the bloodstream, it increases heart rate, increases blood pressure, and leads to shortness of breath, and puts individuals at risk of colds and flus. Smoking nicotine leads to an increased risk of lung disease, heart disease, and a stroke. In addition to this, it has an impact on brain development, hence the age restriction. Once addicted to nicotine, it is hard to quit, and some may face withdrawal symptoms, which include anxiety, anger, and insomnia. Withdrawal symptoms are unpleasant physical and/or mental effects that occur when an individual stops taking a drug because the body has developed a dependence that cannot function without it. Now let's dive deeper into the differences between vaping and cigarettes. Cigarettes have been around for many years, and their history begins with tobacco, the natural plant which contains nicotine. Thousands of years ago, tobacco was used in South America for medicinal purposes. This use spread to Europe in the 16th century, but within less than 100 years, it shifted to being used for pleasure, primarily smoked in pipes. During the period of World War I and II, the use of cigarettes exploded in parts of Europe and North America. It became normal to see individuals smoking in schools, hospitals, and the workplace. But research was being carried out on the health effects, and in 1964, there was a landmark report by the US Surgeon General that made it clear that smoking was a serious danger. Since then, cigarette smoking has been in decline, but it is still a prevalent issue. According to the World Health Organization, in 2020, approximately 20% of the global population used tobacco products like cigarettes. To understand the danger of cigarettes, it is important to look at the components that make up a cigarette. The first part of the cigarette is the filter, which is composed of fibers that are usually wrapped in a brown paper. This part is supposed to trap smoke, limiting the amount entering the lungs, but it is often very ineffective. The next component is a tobacco filler, which is wrapped in cigarette paper. This is where cigarette manufacturers add additives like sugar and ammonia to influence the appeal and addictiveness of cigarettes. There can be up to 600 ingredients included, with many being known to cause cancer. In fact, cigarette smoke itself contains numerous toxins, including acetone, formaldehyde, tar, and arsenic. These are compounds that can harm anyone who is breathing in the smoke. Since cigarettes have been around for a while, the long-term effects have been studied. It has been found that smoking contributes to numerous types of cancer, heart disease, stomach ulcers, and chronic lung illness. It also makes individuals significantly immunocompromised as it creates stress on the body and induces inflammatory responses. With all this knowledge, it is clear that smoking is extremely bad for one's health and is something that is widely accepted and understood by society. But what about vaping? The first successful vaping device was created in 2003 by a pharmacist who was also a smoker. He was inspired after his father died of lung cancer from being a heavy smoker. In 2006, vapes became available in the USA. In 2009, the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act allowed the Food and Drug Administration, more commonly known as the FDA, to regulate tobacco. This included cigarettes, loose tobacco, and other forms. However, e-cigarettes were not considered in this act, so they are not regulated by the FDA. The FDA later regulated e-cigarettes in 2014. Individuals must be 18 plus to purchase vapes in the USA and 19 plus in Canada, as well provide photo identification. Although there are a variety of different types of vapes on the market, such as disposable and rechargeable vapes, there are 4 main components that go into a vape. 1. A cartridge, also known as a pod. This is what contains the nicotine flavoring and other chemicals that are inhaled. 2. A heating element which heats the vapor. 3. A battery which supplies energy to the heating device. And 4. A mouthpiece in which the vape is inhaled. The component in the vape that causes a smoke/fog is glycerol. Glycerol is a thick liquid that can be found in food, beverages, makeup, and skincare. As mentioned earlier, the discovery of vapes is very recent. Although it has been said that vapes are less harmful than cigarettes, or at least this was the intended goal when vapes were designed, the long-term impacts of vaping have yet to be discovered. A review conducted by Tsai et al. Had observed increases in blood pressure and heart rate from acute exposure to e-cigarettes. Animal models had shown increased stiffness in the arteries and changes to the lung tissues after regular use. Heart and lungs go through various changes over chronic use of e-cigarettes. These changes also depend on genetic and environmental factors. Data shows that vaping still causes similar health effects as smoking. One study observed the effects of the other components in the vape. I mean, you would think that adding a flavor like blueberry blast or mango raspberry would not have an effect, right? Unfortunately, a study found that the flavoring component of the vape has a potential to cause inflammation, which would impair the immune system and change regular lung function. Glycerol can be processed properly in the lungs, but it can disrupt the tissue in the lungs, which will make it difficult for your lungs if they encounter pollutants and allergens. In reality, smokers and vapers often live with conditions such as asthma, allergies, and may be exposed to other pollutants. So it is possible that the effects of vaping can interact with other diseases. Although vapes can be attractive and seem cool, it is important to be vigilant and do research when we don't know or understand something. Since cigarettes have been around a lot longer than vapes, their effects on the body are much clearer. But for what we do know right now, the best thing to do is to spread awareness about the truth about vaping. Now that Daniel has explained all this to Andrew can start to see the importance of quitting vaping. At first, it felt like Daniel was just lecturing him, but now it's clear that Daniel really just cares for his friend. Daniel and Andrew decide to look at possible resources together. Please visit teens.smokefree.gov for resources about quitting vaping. For details about any of the information discussed in the video, please visit the description box. Thanks for watching.